Welcome again to another episode of New Hampshire Aquaponics. This is an update of the original trout video. They're substantially bigger. I haven't lost any additional fish. I did lose two originally from the 34 because they managed to find holes in the netting and were able to escape. Found them on the ground. Ever since I put new netting that has no holes other than I believe they're half-inch square holes, I haven't lost any more of these the fish. So you can see the standpipe in the middle. That's about, well, not about, it's a 2-inch standpipe. So I believe the internal diameter is 2 inches. On the right-hand side of the screen, you can see the water that's coming back in from the sump tank. And that comes in through the top. It circulates around the tank. You can actually see some bubbles there, and you can see actually how the water is circulating and counterclockwise. And then the water goes up the standpipe, which is a few inches from the bottom of the tank. So the older water on the bottom of the tank comes up and then goes out horizontally into the grow bed. You can see the fish right now feeding on some shrimp that I had freezer burned. They're maybe a year past their quote expiration date, but they didn't seem to mind, and the shrimp smelled fine. So I just cut it up, and I'm just dropping it into the tank from up top. They're really enjoying it. They are growing extremely fast. Rainbow trout are notorious for being aggressive feeders, and these hybrids or types are very aggressive feeders, and they grow very quickly. Some of the trout stay smaller, and I think that's just genetic variability in them, but most of them actually grow very quickly. I originally put 3.5 to 5-inch rainbow trout, and I'd say now they're probably close to between anywhere from 8 inches to 10 inches. I'd have to actually measure them, and maybe they're not quite that long, but they certainly do seem that long. I also am feeding them some Aquamax 500 dry pellets, and I just drop those from the top every morning and every evening into the tank. You can see it here floating right now. And they really seem to enjoy it, and that's made up a bulk of their diet. The water temperature is usually in the low 70s, sometimes right around 70. I think that even that's too warm for them, but I haven't obsessed about trying to keep the water colder than that. The fish are also supplemented with some worms that I get after a rain, and I just collect them and throw them in there. They also will take insects off the top of the tank. So over here you see them now again feeding very aggressively. Usually when one fish starts up, then the rest of them go crazy and start to feed very aggressively, as you can see here. I have not had a problem with them feeding heavily, except for maybe about a week where the water did get quite warm and they really slowed down. But as you can see here, they're really going crazy with the feedings. I think that some published reports for rainbow trout show a feed conversion ratio of 1.1 to 1, meaning that for every 1.1 pound of dry pellet product, the trout will gain 1 pound of weight. Now, obviously, that's wet weight, but still, that's very impressive. And in fact, is probably some of the highest feed conversion ratios that you'll actually see in animals. I think for some land animals, it's actually quite a bit higher amount of feed that they need to get that kind of weight gain. When I picked these fish up at the hatchery, he did mention that if water temperature became a problem in the middle of the summer, that one of the things they do or have done in the past is bubble oxygen into the water. I haven't found that necessary, especially since I have such a small system that I'm able to cool it down without too much difficulty using cold well water, which as in another video I mentioned that it's at 52 degrees Fahrenheit year round. We've also had a lot of rainy days. So overall, I've been very happy with the water temperature control, and I don't think it's difficult in the Northeast to get temperatures in aquaponic systems that are suitable for trout, especially if you have some well water that is at low temperature that you can use to cool down the tanks. So other than that, I kind of toyed with the idea of putting some other species of fish in here. The problem is that these are pretty aggressive feeders, so they would have to be fairly large fish, and I haven't really found a suitable candidate. I was thinking of maybe putting some largemouth bass in there, but you'd really have to match the size so that you wouldn't have to worry about them getting eaten. And also, it would have to be a fish that would feed on the same type of pellet feed. I did think about some bluegill, and I just haven't really had a chance to get out there and catch some. So that's about it for today. I'm basically going to continue feeding them, and I'm not sure if I'll keep all of them over the winter or give some to a friend who has a pond or not, but I may end up just keeping them all throughout the winter. Thank you again for watching another episode of New Hampshire Aquaponics.